Good evening, dear everybody. Welcome to English Without Borders Thursday webinar series. And we are very happy to see people joining from different parts of Tajikistan and also from different countries to our webinar. And today we are very happy to host Zamira Sitqinushova. And Zamira will talk about listening strategies, expert tips for effective listening skills. And we are super excited about that. And welcome Zamira to English Without Borders.
Thank you very much.
Let me briefly introduce our speaker. Zamira Sitqinushova graduated from the English and Economics faculties of Khorog State University in 2003. Right after graduation, she started working as an English instructor at Khorog State University. In 2004, she joined Aga Khan Humanities Project, University of Central Asia courses in Dushanbe. After successful completion, she started teaching Introduction to Humanities and Individual and Society courses for the teachers from different departments of Khorog State University. In 2005, she studied Cultural Anthropology in Almaty, Kazakhstan. From 2009 to 2011, she had her postgraduate study at Khorog State University. In 2013, she became the Fulbright Teaching Excellence and Achievement Program finalist and went to the United States. In 2014, she joined the School of Professional and Continuing Education of the University of Central Asia. And she joined English Mentor Program in Dushanbe in 2016. And Zamira Sitqinushova participated in various professional development trainings, conferences, and panel discussions. And recently, she has also been an active participant of English Without Borders National Conference and Expo. And with great pleasure, I'm giving the floor to Zamira to share her expert tips for effective listening skills. Thank you, Zamira. Dear all, please use this chance to ask your questions to our speaker and leave your comments and questions in the chat box. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me for this webinar session. A lot of thanks to Nasiba, Gonoro, EWB team for inviting me to share my several years of teaching experience with my inner and global colleagues. While preparing for this presentation, I was going through some materials and came across a paper that one of the mentors had given me during the sessions in Almaty a couple of years ago. And there were three questions. There were two to three questions about today's presentation, and I'm going to share with you those three questions. So they are mainly about our today's topic. So we are going to talk about, talk and share with you about listening strategies and expert tips for improving listening skills. So that is our today's topic, listening strategies and expert tips for effective listening skill. I would like to introduce you with my outline, with the outline of today's session. So we will talk around the topics, the importance of listening skills, 4 basic listening strategies, expert tips for effective listening skill, and some tips for the importance of listening skills and questions. I would like to start with the first question. My very first question, what to someone speak English? I would like to know your opinion, dear audience. Can you please share your opinions? Yes. Okay. Okay, Khari says if they are fast, we might not catch everything. Very good. Some slang words, new vocabulary. Yes. I cannot get it sometimes. New vocabulary again. Yes. Okay. Some ideas, some idioms that we do not know, some slang, some phrasal verbs that we do not know. It's difficult for us, yes, to get the listening. Pronunciation, yes, pronunciation is the most difficult part in listening skill, yes. Understand, exactly. When we don't understand. Some noise, yes. Okay. Yes. Any other ideas to share? Any other ideas to share? Okay. Some noise, mumbling. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your brilliant ideas. Thank you. Of course, what mostly worries us most when we listen to someone speaking English, not understanding the words. That is because we are lack of we are lack of many new words, right? And people are talking too fast. Exactly. And sometimes we do face unfamiliar accents. That is also one of the most difficult problem in listening skill, unfamiliar accents. So my second question, let's move on to the second question. Why is listening skill very important in our daily life? Any ideas to share? Why is listening skill very important in our daily life? Missing any important information? Yes. Any ideas to share? Why is listening skill very important in our daily life? For proper communication, yes, Konoro. Yes, for proper communication. Any ideas?
To improving our pronunciation.
Yes. Heidi says this is something that we may not see or read. Exactly. Before we speak, Mavluda says, before we speak our native language, we do listening for many months. Exactly. We have to have lots of practice. Exactly. We have to have lots of practice. Exactly. We have to have lots of practice. Any other ideas to share? Okay, so listening skill is considered to be one of the most important subject in our daily life. Imagine every day we listen to, so our listening rate raised to 45%, while our speaking is 30%. We speak to, so we talk to our bosses, for example, we talk to our colleagues, we talk to our customers, to our students, to our peers, to our mates. And if, for example, we talk to them in 10 minutes, they can remember half of it, not totally whatever we said. They can remember only half % of it. Like, for example, if we talked in 10 minutes, they can perceive 5 minutes, because we are lack of many listening skills. And if we are self-reflective, and if we pay attention to our everyday communication, we speak a lot, but we do not pay attention to our listening. There are two kinds of listening, like two kinds of listening stages. The one is passive and the second is active. So the passive listening, now you are listening to me, right? So that is passive listening. We listen to podcasts, listen to like different shows, TV shows, movies. So these kind of listenings are passive listenings. We interpret, we can't do anything else. We are lack of active speaking. So the active speaking, that's about, it gives others the impression that you agree with them, even if you don't agree. So in active speaking, we look at the speakers directly. We put aside any distracting thoughts. We listen to the speakers' body languages. We pay a lot of attention to the body language. We nod occasionally, so we smile and we use other facial expressions. And of course, in the end, we provide feedback. So that is an active listening. Listening skill is has a very low rate in, especially in secondary school, in secondary schools. Currently, I had my master workshop in one of the remote places of Tajikistan, in Rosh-Khala district, in school number 18. While talking about listening skills and strategies, listening strategies, the secondary teachers, they said we can't use listening skill at school with our students. They have 45 minutes. The administration of the school do not allow them to use any techniques. So during this session, I conducted with them various ways of using listening skills in their lessons. And I do believe that workshop helped them. And recently I got a message from one of the teachers. She said, I can use listening tasks in my lesson after your session, and I was very, very glad. So let's move on to the third question and to the last question. What makes listening so hard? What do you think? What makes listening so hard?
If the listening will be so fast, it will be hard to listen.
Exactly. You mean if the task, right? If the topic, if the context,
audio, yeah.
the audio, yes. Thank you. Any other ideas?
Also, without any handouts before, for example, before listening, we are not reading something.
Exactly. You mean, yes. You mean pre-listening, right?
Yes, pre-listening.
Pre-listening. So we have to have our pre-listening.
No, I just said that if we haven't any pre-listening, it will be make our listening so hard.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
May I jump in?
Yes, Firoz.
Oh, hello. Like you said earlier, it also depends on the accent, the speed, the pace of the speaker.
Exactly.
Regardless of having a pre-listening activity designed carefully and meticulously, the students may still be unfamiliar or seeing the teacher for the first time in their life, and a kind of an accent or a kind of an English they use could be quite challenging. So this is what can make the listening part quite challenging. And one more thing I'd like to mention, I mentioned it on Facebook comments. It's assimilation. And what is meant by assimilation? Like most of the native English speakers, they try to, eat up. They try to blend and assimilate lots of words and sounds and sentences together that in the end, it might be quite a tricky job to distinguish what exactly has been said and what sound has been voiced. So assimilation could also pose a greater challenge. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Firoz. So the accent, of course, that is also one of the most difficult part in listening. That is not because of the British and American accents. So we have different, very like in Tajikistan, we have different Central Asian countries. They have different accents. So, for example, comparing French language, it has its own accents, right? So, and that is difficult to catch the listening task. Let's move on to first we will talk about the strategies. So there are many strategies of listening skill in English language. I will talk basic strategies. So the first is predicting, right? Predicting is also considered to be one of the most important strategies of these four. And I think that part is not so difficult. When we predict, for example, teacher is going our task is going to be about the weather forecast. So teacher introduces us with the instruction, with the listening instruction. Then we have to predict, we have to make a mind map to predict, right? Wearing suit, we have to predict towns, we have to predict the cities, and listening will be easy for us, right? By predicting the topic. The second is listening for gist. So listening for gist, what is happening in general, right? The text is, for example, the text is going to be about food, and we have again to think about the categories, about the group words, about the we have to make, like, for example, the food, banana, the jam, the apples, or some other foods. We have to make mind map, and we have to categorize the words. So this is when the learner tries to understand what is happening in the text, even if he or she can't understand every phrase or every sentence. And the learner is trying to pick up the keywords, as I've mentioned before. We are trying, if we know the text is going to be about food, we have to guess, we have to grasp the key points. And next is the listening for detail. Oh, sorry, listening for detail. In this, let's say, step, we are going to look for a detailed information. We're going to find a specific kind of information, perhaps the numbers, names, dates. We are able to narrow down and search and get the detailed information, right? Again, for example, the weather forecast would be a very good example, of course, for this one. If we will listen about the weather forecast, we have to pay attention to the cities, to the names of the city, to the names of the cities. We will pay attention to the like the numbers, and of course we can't see without video, we can't see the symbols, the signs, right, of the weather. And the next one is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing, of course, it's also the main strategy in listening skill. We can use many ways to paraphrase the sentences. For example, in other words, did you mean that? I think what I am hearing you say is blah, blah, blah. Correct me if I am wrong, blah, blah. So is that what you mean? So how you felt about it was? And there are some sentences that we can use to paraphrasing our listening skill. So now let's talk about the tips. Sorry, the tips. Sorry. We have basic tips of improving our listening skills. And if we follow these tips, of course, we will have so our listening skill will be easy and we can effectively improve it. The very first is maintain eye contact with the speaker. So means we have to have a very good eye contact with the speaker. So the speaker has to feel himself or herself confident, or yes, so we are respecting our speaker, we are listening, we have our eye contact. The second is visualize what the speaker is saying. Exactly, visualizing helps us a lot. While the speaker is, for example, going to tell about school subjects, we have to visualize them. Or if our speaker is going to tell about biology classes or biology topic, so we can visualize some plants, some insects, some flowers, right? And wait for a pause to ask questions. Exactly. Sometimes we can't wait to ask questions, and that is very important. Listen with your body. Full body, right? We have to respect again our speaker. We have to, if it is active listening, we have to use our body language. We have to use gestures in order to make sure our speakers, in order to make sure then that we are respecting them and we are listening to them. Feel more confident, exactly. More confident and stay focused. So feel confident means we are joining the conversations, right? We are in the conversation. We meet new people while we enter into the conversation. We will meet new people, and we will improve, of course, our communication skill. So what about stay focused? Stay focused means be in present. We have to be in present. We have to listen. We have to make sure that we are totally have our passive listening, and to empathize. Of course, that is one of the core strategies, one of the core tips in listening skill. Listening isn't just about the message being received. The intent and the context are very important. So we have to try to make a habit of seeing things from our speaker's point of view. We have tried to put our feet in our speaker's shoes. So it means empathizing is a very core listening skill. And let's move on to the expert tips. There are many experts listening skills. I would like to share with you the Marshall tips. What Marshall sums up these tactics. The very first Marshall mentioned. Very first, the Marshall notes, and he mentions that listen. It's the first one. The second, don't finish other person's sentences. Sometimes we have this one. We don't finish other person's sentences and we want to interrupt. I do have it a lot with my students. Don't say, I knew that. Even if you know that, you have to be patient, you have to stay focused, you have to be in present, and you have to wait. Don't even agree with the other person. Even if you praises you, just say thank you. That is also very important. Don't say the words no, but, and however. We have to wait again. We have to be focused. We have to be in present. Don't be distracted. And maintain your end of the dialogue by asking intelligent questions. Yes, sometimes this situation might happen. I haven't seen this in my practice with my students, but this might happen in the street or between friends, between peers. Maintain your end of the dialogue by asking intelligent questions. So don't strive to impress the other person. Exactly. So this tip is also very effective in listening speaking. So the listener don't strive to impress the other person. And the other tip that Marshall expresses, being a good leader is being a good listener. Do you agree with it? Being a good leader is being a good listener. So what do you think about this saying, about Marshall saying? Nasiba agrees with it.
it's right, because as we know that the leaders that are working with the people, they must listen the people, that what are they saying. Because of that, the person called leader. And I think I agree with this kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. Yes, some people are outspoken. That's why they miss lots of information. Yes. Any other ideas? Wise people listen. Yes. Wise people listen. Proper listening guarantees effective communication. Exactly. Yes, Firuz. Proper listening guarantees effective communication. And being a good listener is a very active process. Marshall writes that there are 3 things that all good listeners do. They think before they speak. Good listeners, they think before they speak. They listen with respect. They are always gauging their response by asking themselves, is it worth it? Yes. Yes, Nasiba agrees with Firuz. So any other ideas to share about being a good leader is being a good listener? Being a good speaker. Because leaders, they speak, right? They guides, they speaks, they organizes, they are mentors. But why not speaker? Why not being a good leader is being a good speaker? Okay, Zarina mentions here, first listen, then speak. Yes, I remember that proverb. I have, remember. Yeah, I remember this proverb since my childhood. First thing, then speak. Avalandi Shabbat Guftor in Tajik. Yes. Parents don't listen to their kids too, as well as teachers do. Yes. Any other ideas to share? So from these 3, let's say from these 3 things, from these 3 characters of being a look at pay attention to the 3rd one. They are always gauging their response by asking themselves. They are always gauging their response by asking themselves, is it worth it? What does that mean? They are always gauging. As a speaker, one has, Firuz mentions, as a speaker, one has to closely align his or her speech with the audience, and for that, he or she needs to listen well. Gauge is a measure, yes. Gauge is the measure. Yes, good listeners, they always measure their responses, right? Okay. Any other ideas to share? Okay. So, I think the tips, the strategies, there are many other tips and strategies to improve our listening skills. to sum up, listening, before I found listening skill very, very difficult with my students at Khorog State, while teaching at Khorog State Universities. When I joined SPCE, School of Professional and Continuing Education, I found listening skill, I didn't face any challenges with the listening skills. I mean, the level I'm teaching from the pre-starter to upper intermediate level. So because at SPCE, we have a good condition, we have a good environment, we have the best environment for listening skill, we have more up-to-date techniques, we have listening every day in our lessons, and students are very interested in our courses. Students now feel themselves free to have, they don't have fear of listening. Before my students, they had fear, but now they feel themselves, like fearless. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, I am open to answer to your questions.
Thank you so much, Zamira. Yeah, very interesting presentation. So at English Without Borders, we usually organize webinars to provide a platform for different speakers with different background and with different teaching experience. So it will become a kind of a synergy, you know, between the participants of this webinar to discuss and also to, you know, to share and as well as just reflect. So now let us open the floor for questions and answers. So
Okay.
dear audience, if you have any questions to our speaker, please feel free to unmute yourself, or just you can leave your questions in the comment box or chat box. So Firuz, yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for your presentation. There were quite a number of points that we could take away. As you remember, I was in Tajikistan, in your country, last week
Yes.
during the national conference. And during my presentation, I brought up a striking point, which was bringing the real world to your class, which oftentimes lacks in the real English teaching auditorium. So my question is the following. Since you were talking about listening, are you in favor of integrating authentic listening materials, like from YouTube, from, I don't know, like you can just invite two native English speakers to demonstrate some kind of listening activity? Are you in favor of authentic English listening?
Exactly.
Or are you in favor of simplified, but more like a mechanic English, which is easy to do the tasks in the class, but has no relatability beyond the premises of the class, which is actually what's going on in most of the public schools? Our students can do the task really well, but you know, once they come out of the class, the school, they're unable to communicate. So
Exactly.
what is missing, and what has to be done, like from your perspective as a professional? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I use lots of listening tasks in my during my classes. We do have, for example, our books, they consist of several units. And if we start from the first unit, if our topic is about, speed dating, yesterday I talked about this topic, speed dating, for upper intermediate level. And we have listening for this topic. And I did use some videos from, I did use YouTube, some videos, and we did have some practices. Like after listening, the students practiced. They used like they communicate with each other. There were 3 questions, and they have to have the speed limit questions in 3 minutes, and they did it. Yes, they did a very great job. So, and the other topic is, for example, we talked about, in one of my classes, we talked about ghosts. And I showed them some videos about the ghosts. And when, after finishing the class, they were afraid to go to a corridor. So we did have some practices with them, and it works good.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have more questions. So next question, Bakhti Begim is asking, how should we reduce the fear of our students? Do you have any methods?
How should we reduce the fear of our students? To have more practice, to have more listening practices, like starting from the very beginning level. So even if, for example, teaching at Khorog State University for the 4th year students, they have challenges. So even if they are studying at the 4th year, we have to start from the very beginning level to 3 times a week, we have to conduct listening tasks in order to reduce their fear. Yes. Then while they will while they start using listening skill. So when we start teaching them from the very beginning level, they will feel free, right? Because the words are familiar with them, for them. They will not face the difficult words. And then gradually we have to move to the higher levels.
Okay, thank you. So we have next question. Gunoro is asking, how did you develop your listening skills first as a student? And as a teacher now, how do you help those students who struggle with listening comprehension?
Okay, thank you very much, Gunoro. Yes, of course, my very first experience about listening, I found it difficult during my school days. Even we studied at Aga Khan Lycée. I found very difficult the listening task. Then gradually entering to university, we were also lack of listening skills. I tried to listen. I tried to watch movies, and I try to watch foreign programs. And going to US, the very first days, I faced many challenges. Then starting from the housekeeper, in English, entering everywhere is English. Then I started to improve my listening skills, and I'm trying to help my students. While during the exams we have to have only twice listening, right? So they found it difficult, and they asked me to repeat that for the 3rd time. The most important tips I teach my students, they have to to make their brain free, right? To not to think about anything, like to forget about their problems and to focus on listening. Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Question is very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, we have next question.
And visualizing, they have to visualize. For example, if we are going to talk about we are going to talk about the typically British topic, right? So they have to visualize the things that are the British things, for example, the tea, the red buses, they have to visualize and they can grasp the information easily.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you so much, Zamira. Next question comes from Maria Mirzobekovna. She's asking, how to focus fully while we are listening?
Sorry?
Can you hear me? Zamira?
Sorry? Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, next question comes from Maria Mirzobekovna. She's asking how to focus fully while we are listening.
How to focus full. Mm-hmm. So forget about your problems, put aside everything, concentrate on the topic, visualize it, as the above mentioned. You have to stay focused, you have to be in present. Yes. Mm-hmm. These are the important tips.
Okay, thank you, Zamira. We have a number of questions. I guess that comes from our Facebook viewers. So should we use simplified text or authentic text for the lower level of proficiency? What are the advantages and disadvantages of both?
Advantages and disadvantages of,
of simplified text and authentic text.
In a very low level?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So advantages and disadvantages of?
Yeah, of using simplified text or authentic text.
Mm-hmm. Of course, simplifying.
Zamira, we lost you. Yeah, I think like in Khorog, the internet connection is not so good. So, okay, let's be patient. Dear all, let's just let's open the floor. Like since I guess like Zamira has some difficulty with the internet, let's open the floor for sharing, you know, some useful tips, for improving listening skills. So if anybody of you can share your useful tips, that would be great, because the webinars serve as a platform for sharing between the teachers. So please go ahead. If anybody wants to share, go ahead.
May I?
Yes, sure. Tirus, go ahead.
Well, I'd like to say you need to immerse yourself in English atmosphere. And by saying that, I mean, you need to play some kind of English recording. For example, what I basically do is I open my laptop computer. I play. I put any live TV channel through YouTube on, and I continue doing my work. And this is kind of a background noise or background in English that I could still hear and catch something. And you know, this plays constantly, day in and day out. And you know, I try to immerse myself in authentic English. You know, you have to really live with this language. English is not just limited to the classroom. Unfortunately, you know, we have to understand that English is spoken outside the classroom, where the real world setting is. So to all those fellow English teachers and those viewers of English Without Borders, I'd love to say, you need to keep listening every day to authentic English materials. There are plenty of them on YouTube. YouTube is your best bet. It's the largest platform where you could access motivational talks, TV news like Al Jazeera, Sky News, Washington Post, BBC. I often listen to all those live English news, and this is how I feel like, okay, something is improving because I can understand this. I'm listening every day. And you know, whenever I have free time, I try to listen. And this is the best way to, you know, improve your vocabulary, because every day you come across a kind of a neologism or a kind of an idiomatic expression that native English speakers tend to use very frequently. You know, so again, going back to the books, learning something from books and trying to, you know, apply it to the real world may not be that effective. It's best to learn from the real setting. And this is what I do. Like, I listen to TV news, TV channels on YouTube. There are lots of platforms that stream the live sessions. And also I attend webinars. Like as an ELT professional, I attend all those webinars and online conferences. There are lots of events this month. I listen to native English speakers, the way they speak, the way they present themselves, and this is how you can emulate. When you see something, you emulate, you improve, you get better. So that's all. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, as for me, I also listen to different English songs, like, you know, and also just I like listening TED Talks because they are very good.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's motivation.
And they also just, you know, you learn, you know, some really pioneer opinions, and also just, you know, the way how they perceive this world and what they are doing to make this world a better place for all. So we have a question, I guess, from you know, and I guess this is directed to you, Rose. So listening to
I'm not a presenter.
You are not, but I guess because you mentioned that you listen to music as well.
Okay.
So listening to a piece of music help the mind relax. How often do you use music as a tool for developing students' listening skills and help students stay focused?
That's an excellent question, but I never resort to listening music, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen fellow English teachers using lyrics and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, trying to incorporate like a music page to their lesson. But honestly, I never related to listening to music. Well, it could be fun, especially if you're a music lover. So my tip would be, do what you love best. For example, if you love music, then you have greater chance of learning through listening to music. But in my case, I love listening to really serious content like world news, like politics, economics, environment, technology, like high tech, innovation. So I love you know, a host of different content. So that's what I feel like, okay, this is my cup of tea, you know? So it depends on your taste. Like they say tastes differ. So to some people, listening to music could be best. But in my case, listening to authentic material like TED Talks, motivational speeches by Steve Jobs, Denzel Washington, there are lots of amazing motivational speakers. So like we have greater chance of improving our skills if we do what we really love, because then it comes easy. You know, I can't force myself to listening some kind of English music or English rap by Eminem and trying to improve my listening skills. No, that doesn't work. I should fall for music first, and only then I, enjoy the process of learning. The process has to be enjoyable. So if it's an enjoyable process, you don't have to make an effort. You don't have to make any effort to improve your skills. It's actually quite effortless when you love it. So love it, and it comes easy. And we all have different areas which we love. Some people love rap, pop music, classical. So you just name it.
Yeah, exactly. Completely agree with you. Like, learning styles differ, so for some people like music helps, for some people like, other motivational channels also help. And Zoro also mentions like in the era of social media, why not to use, social media properly? Bloggers, there are bloggers, tons of bloggers on Instagram.
Yeah, I don't want to go back to my presentation because I've already delivered a 1-hour presentation on the effects of what vlogging can bring into class,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So exactly. We live in the era of abundance of information around us. We need just to filter and use those which can be useful for us.
Which is relatable to us.
Exactly.
Relatable to our interest.
Okay. So thank you so much, Firuz. So please, we still have a couple of minutes, before we wrap up. So if anybody wants to share, please unmute yourself. Okay, so Mauluda is saying like she listens to stories, news in English, and it's a great opportunity to learn English. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Like I said, if you love listening to stories, that's what you have to, carry on, because that comes easy. For example, I don't have patience to listening to stories, so it's not for me. But to some people, they love listening to stories. They love listening to music. They love listening to TED Talks. So we all have different interests and different tastes. So based on the taste, we have to just stick to it. We can't really force one mechanism to all. It's not like one size fits all. It's actually everyone has different tastes and different mechanisms.
Yeah, agree. So and also listening to podcasts, it's also great.
Yes, I love listening to podcasts. That's a great, because of the content, because of the English, because of the speed. I love the content which is spoken at a relatively pacey manner, like really fast or close to fast. And this is how, over time, by listening to these kind of a pace and tune and content, unconsciously, subconsciously, you will also become the same. Your English will be the same when you listen more to authentic English, more to fast English, over time, without realizing that you become one of those people.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. And of course, just to wrap up, listening to and also participating and watching English with our Thursday webinars is also a great opportunity to catch up, with so many great ideas and also great experience of teachers who usually share. Some of the teachers have humble, some of the teachers have great, experience. But anyway, like this platform is, for promoting teachers, for helping them, to share the knowledge they have, and also just to exchange this knowledge, and also just, to get connected, because English Without Borders taglines is building community for capacity building and connectivity among the teachers, not only in Tajikistan, but beyond. Yeah, so once again, thank you, dear all, for your great participation. Unfortunately, Zamira just messaged me that like her internet failed, and it's quite understandable, because in remote areas of Tajikistan, like the connection is not so good. But anyway, she did her best and devoted her time for English with our Borders webinar. And again, once again, thank you, dear all. And so stay tuned on us, and we'll be happy to see you again next Thursday at 6 p.m. Tajikistan time. Thank you so much, dear all. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.